Hi, this is Jeremy Kellett, Director of Recruiting here at Oakley Trucking, and I'm your host for this podcast. This is the Oakley Podcast, Trucking, Business, and Family. Appreciate everybody watching us on YouTube and checking us out on whatever platform you listen to us, but we appreciate you staying with us every week. This week we're going to talk APUs. I've had a couple requests from some listeners that says, hey, why don't you do an episode on APUs and learn a little bit about them. And so we did a little research. I found a expert, Ricky Duncan, with Thermo King, that's going to sit down here and visit with us. And we're going to talk strictly APUs. We're going to learn a little bit, like first what they are, maybe a little history of them, why they got so popular when they did, and then the differences in them. You know, you got diesel powered, you've got battery powered. We're going to talk a little, maybe even warranty and where you can get them serviced, that kind of stuff. Get a little farther in detail with Ricky Duncan here in just a few minutes. But first, let's do an Oakley update sponsored by Arrow Truck Sales. Arrow Truck Sales has been in business for over 60 years and a longtime partner of Oakley Trucking and the Oakley Podcast. Trey Visor and Keith Wilson do a great job at putting you in the right truck to fit your needs and our needs here at Oakley. They carry all makes and models to choose from with on-site financing through transport funding. So whether you are a seasoned owner-operator or a first-time buyer, be sure to contact Keith Wilson at Arrow Truck Sales at 573-216-6047 and tell him you heard it on the Oakley Podcast. Okay, so the update for today actually is two real simple ones. I wanted to do this one because I got an email about a good service, and I'll just read this email. Just took a call from Pine Street Salvage Scale in Abilene, Texas. You guys know where that's at. I'm sure we've been going there for years. And this person says he said he loves when our guys come in. They're always professional and nice. He wished that all drivers were like ours. He said he just wanted to call and say thanks because it seems like all you hear is a negative feedback, but our guys are worth the praise for being so positive. So good stuff right there. He didn't tell me a specific driver, but it just goes, you guys in general, that you take care of us out there at Oakley with our customers, and you know how important customer service is here, and we appreciate that. The other thing on the Oakley update, I like to recognize sometimes an owner-operator that's been with us a little while, and this guy, he's kind of flies, I don't know if he flies under the radar, but you just don't hear him on any bad list, so for sure, but he's just a super guy that has been here 10 years. His name is Craig Miller. He's out of Cleveland, Tennessee. He's on the end-dump division. He's got a 2022 KW W900, and he just, is consistent and does the job for us. I asked dispatch and operations what they thought about him because they deal with him every day, and they said, got it right here, always, this is from his dispatcher, always has a great positive attitude, willing to do anything we need him to do and help out. Have had compliments on him from customers over the past year and how much they enjoy having him. So, man, that's the kind of stuff we want to hear. Craig Miller, we want you to know we appreciate you at Oakley Trucking, and thanks for representing us well. All right, let's get down to talking APUs with Ricky Duncan. Ricky Duncan, what's going on, Ricky?
Good morning.
You doing all right?
I'm doing good. Thanks for having me.
Hey, I appreciate you coming over and doing this. This is just good stuff. I know we was talking a little bit earlier about don't do a lot of podcasting and listening and stuff, but this is something that we've tried to get good information out to our owner-operators, and I think APUs is a huge deal.
Sure.
It's been a big topic since, like you were saying, Obama went to $4 a gallon when he was in office, and here all of a sudden APUs fire up. So give us a little bit of background on your history with APUs and in the trucking business, if you would.
Trucking business started early 90s. I got my start with Great Dane. I got a couple years there, and then I went to work for MHC. And was fortunate enough to do nearly 24 years with those guys. And the last 16 of that, I guess, was with their carrier division. And Then left there just right at 6, maybe 7 years ago. Come over to the Thermo King side, and it's been mostly refrigeration for me for the better part since 2000.
And you work at the location here in Little Rock?
Here, local
North
dealer
Little
here,
Rock.
Tri-State Thermo King. So,
and you've dealt with APUs for a long time?
watched them come in. I'm just guessing roughly 05, 06, somewhere in that. Watched it come in. And that's probably when we started, really thinking about it. Started seeing truck problems we didn't know were truck problems back then, idling problems. We started experiencing, and then, of course, we were also going through a spell of fuel going up. How do we fight this? We didn't know all that in the early 2000s.
So,
we didn't know.
So let's start right there, because somebody outside listening in that we've already said APUs a couple times. What is an APU?
An APU is an auxiliary power unit. And so what that'll do is it'll allow you to run heat or air and stay comfortable in a truck without idling the truck. So, there's the two main ones are Carrier and Thermo King, obviously, but there's been some others, around.
And that became important when two things, right? When fuel went high.
That was first.
And then when they started putting these DEF
That's right.
on
Exactly
big
right.
trucks.
That's exactly right. When they started improving these engines to drive the emissions to where they are today is where this thing really started to snowball.
Because it was bad to idle the truck.
It was.
That's crazy.
It was bad. Think about, where we come from, and you look back in the 70s and the 80s. I mean, black smoke roll, and where we're at today.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
changed.
invisible.
Yeah.
It's invisible. You don't see trailers blacked out on the front or trucks you don't see that anymore. Yeah. But to get there, they had to make a lot of changes to truck engines, which in turn made things a lot more sensitive. Used to, for instance, a truck could, something can fail, sensor go out, check engine light come on. Hey, I need to get to the next exit, the next whatever. I need to get home. Nowadays, and you probably know this, nowadays stuff goes out, truck goes down. We're calling a tow truck right then. Yeah. So we're unable to limp one to get it to where we're going.
It has changed that, by having that, because I can remember some of that was coming out and they were talking about how it was bad for trucks idling. They don't, with this new emissions they put on them, DEF and stuff, they're not supposed to idle much. And I'm thinking, now who in their right mind would make it bad, something bad on a truck for it to be bad to idle? Because you have to idle these things. So that was was puzzling, but APUs took off.
Yeah.
And the demand hit.
Yep.
And so what was happening on your end at that time?
On our end, we were learning right along with everybody else, but we knew we had a product. I think APU in general, we knew we had something that could run the air and the driver could sleep. Or we could run the heat and the driver could sleep. So, and back to what we were getting ready to say right there, fuel creeping up. So you idle a truck, you're burning a gallon to sometimes 1.2 gallon per hour. Man, sleeping 8 hours, here we go. We're burning 8 to 10 gallons a night. And all of a sudden, we're not at $2, $1.50, $2 fuel anymore. We're at $4 fuel. So our cost, everything we had factored into this truck, times 10, times whatever, how big our company is, our number just went off the charts. It just went off the charts.
And these things burn
0.3 is about what the two big ones are at right now. About 0.3.
0.3 of a gallon per hour.
Per hour. That's right.
So, man, what kind of savings
exactly.
is that?
Exactly.
That's a big savings, and I guess you guys, of course, that's your selling point.
So we sold on fuel for up till, 6-8 years ago maybe. I don't know the exact time. We sold on fuel for a long time, but changes that have come with emissions and CARB, which is California Air Resource Board, changes that have come through all that, and what they've done with these engines have forced us to now it has to be more driven for, hey, we can't idle that truck. That 5 minutes of idle, and this thing's looks like a pinball machine going off.
All the codes and
bells
stuff.
and whistles and codes and everything just going off everywhere. And now I can't drive it to my local dealer and get it fixed. So, and today's truck, it has the DPF or the regen or all that, and it's monitoring all of that. And you let that get out of whack and in today's world. So we can't get half the parts that we need to fix stuff anymore. We're really hurting on our manpower at all of our locations.
Really?
You bring me your truck, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, maybe. I'll do my best. There's no longer bay one, first thing.
Yeah.
Pull it right in there. My guy may not be here today. I may not have a guy here, period.
Yeah.
I may not have him working here anymore. And we've got to find a way. So the APU now is forced to get even better. Our guys, we got to do better with the APU to try to help the guys avoid some of the things that we're seeing for the first time out of a truck,
Right, because now, when people buy a truck, I'm assuming that's one of the first things they want to get done is an APU put on it.
For sure.
They limit their engine wear and tear, and they limit fuel consumption, and it's just a tool. It's just another necessity now. Like it
drives driver retention like you wouldn't believe. It drives,
especially for company trucks, probably.
It drives driver retention. It would shock you to know how many drivers are looking at that when they're looking at a job. They got to know. Because today's driver, and it's funny, today's driver, we go from your hardcore truck drivers from back in the day, outlaw trucking we used to call it. Now we call it hotel load now, almost a camping deal. We want to plug everything up, run everything, roll the awning out, build a little campfire. That's what it seems like now. Yeah. And to be able to do all of that, you're not going to get plug-ins everywhere like that where you go. So able to do that, the APU is going to have to hold up and provide that.
So let's talk a little bit about the different kinds of APUs. I don't know if there's just one or two. I'm assuming there's a diesel APU and a battery. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yep, that's correct. The electric is above and beyond, I think, what everybody's going. And the thing about electric is most of your OEMs offer one. Whether it's, PACCAR has their version, the Kim system. Freightliner has.
Hang on just a second. Miles, that sun is shining right. Look at that. You got a piece of tape or something? Perfect, dude. That did it. Thank you, sir. Okay, so let's talk about the different kinds of APUs we have out there. Ricky, if you would, give us some education on what maybe the pros and cons of each.
Diesel and electric is the two that we're currently. That's what and really, diesel is your mainstay for all the good reasons why.
What are they?
We've got put fuel in it, run it. That's what we know in this country. We're kind of, we're going down this road of electric, no doubt. We're moving toward it, and we've a lot of things but there's so many unknowns. I've got drivers that want to sleep 4 to 6 hours. Heck, they can do that on the ground outside. But some guys, if you're going to be, and you got guys who are not only going to sleep 8, then they're going to sit 8. You got some guys that are going to do 16 hours at a time in some cases. Battery technology is still trying to get there. We're trying to get 8 to 10 hours out of the battery so he can sleep. That's what we're trying to do. Maybe let him plug his phone up, and maybe the microwave work where he can cook a little breakfast in the morning, whatever it all is. But if his job requires him to sleep and then go sit somewhere and wait, guess what? Batteries may put us at a disadvantage.
May not last that long.
It won't last. Not currently. Not in today's world the way we got it. Now we've got lithium coming. We've got examples of, we've got one example for sure where we do more truck starts for less time. But that's an up and down, so, and the constant starting of the truck, is that going to create something down the line? Are we going to run into something there?
You're right.
Maintenance issues, maintenance items.
Right.
Starters up, anything like that. So, battery is the way. As far as the noise factor, you don't have it. Definitely the fuel factor, we're not burning it. So it's the way to do it. We just got to stay at it and figure out the best way to do that. I think there's pretty good progress right now. I think battery technology could probably speak to, I wished I had some numbers to show you the first initials being 2 to 3 to 4 hours. Batteries are dead.
And what are they
to
now?
now seeing some guys report numbers upwards of 14 hours.
Oakley Trucking is a 100% owner-operator company. We specialize in hopper bottom, end dump, and pneumatic trailers. We provide the trailer free of charge, and you provide the truck. We have a large customer base that reaches the whole United States as well as parts of Canada. Our owner-operators live anywhere from Texas to North Carolina to Pennsylvania to Wisconsin and everywhere in between, and we get them home weekends. We take it seriously when you join Oakley Trucking because we need you to be successful. Oakley offers great benefits and competitive mileage pay, so you know that when your wheels are turning, you're generating money no matter if you're loaded or empty. We understand that you want to make a good living and that you make our living. We only take on independent contractors, and to be honest with you, we are very particular on who we lease on. You must have a good driving record, good work history, and clean, dependable truck. So if you're interested in Oakley Trucking or just want some more information, you can go to oakleytrucking.com, listen to our weekly podcast, The Oakley Podcast, and subscribe to our YouTube channel.
And then now you're starting to couple solar panels with plugging in a little bit more right toward the tail end so that I get my last little bit of what I need out of my brake. But
do y'all do that? As far as add a solar panel
we
to
do.
it?
We offer a solar panel. Matter of fact, most of our quotes, we generally like to quote this thing complete with a solar panel. And then if the customer says, hey, I've already got a heater or an inverter and I don't want that solar, then we take it back out. But we want him to know up front, we'd like for you to run the whole package, because that does nothing but help us with our I won't say it's a guinea pig type deal. We've got it out there and it's doing well.
Where do you mount that solar panel?
Solar panel's mounted on the top of the truck.
Okay, I would think so too.
So,
how big is it?
4 by 2.5.
Okay, it's not
like
bad. So are you putting on more diesels than you are electric battery?
Definitely more diesels.
Definitely.
Currently. I've got some customers I've got a few customers that are running our product and have run them under test circumstances for us and had some great return on it. I've got some orders going this year where we're going to get some installed. Our Nashville store's done a few. So we've got a little bit of feedback, but TK as a company, the big company, they've got, some great success stories. They really do. And you have to feed on that. Like I said, a guy that's just trucking, this is a go-getter. He's pushed it he's trucking. He might sleep, he's doing it by the books, but it's versus the guy who has to sit and wait. That's a big difference. It's huge.
Yeah.
Your oil field guys,
They're going to have to do diesel.
They have to sit and wait, yeah.
Yeah.
But now think about this. Traffic jams, weather. We'll get 5 or 10 days a year where traffic is locked up and he can't go anywhere, and you pulled him off the side of the road. Here we go.
Yeah.
Were we ready for 17, 18 hours of a blizzard there we wasn't expecting, and my guy's sitting on the side of the road with his... No, we're going to start that truck, we're going to offset, and here we go with our idle issues that we just talked about.
I think that's definitely, there's no doubt there's a necessity these days to be on a truck. Are there certain, let's talk a little more specific, are there certain trucks that you can't put them on, or is there problems, or you have issues?
Not to my knowledge. Now, in the past...
Where do they normally go?
They normally mount on the passenger side, just behind the cab. And in the past, wheelbase was an issue, And, that's a hard lesson you learn, too. You got, hey, man, yeah, I'll get the whole thing done, brings it to me, ain't got enough space. Ain't got 25, 24, 25 inches, and I need, a little bit more than that. So truck manufacturers have now, they make sure. They not only make sure, the truck manufacturers, they start pre-plumbing a truck. So that makes our install just a little bit quicker.
I was wondering how that, we were talking about that before you got here. Me and another guy was saying, I wonder if they have it where they just plug it in. I mean, they mount it, then plug it in. What does that look like?
The manufacturer is ready no matter what they go with. Whether going down their assembly line, if it's getting theirs, or if the customer has already said, no, I'm getting the other one. And so it's ready. But they've just kind of pre-plumbed a little bit and got you ahead in the game.
Well, and I was thinking about that as you mount it on the side, then what does it plug into actually in the truck? So you got to run lines.
Yeah, we'll run lines just up under the cab, and we'll cut into the base of the cab. Yep. Now that particular setup right there, so we'll tie into that truck engine. We can do that one of two ways. We had a series a few years back where some trade cycles were very short. And some guys were pulling APUs off and adding them to their new trucks. So they got away from plumbing it into the truck engine. They wanted a closed loop. Don't leave a scar on my truck because I'm trading it back in a couple of years. So they'd go closed loop. Well, again, let's get to some cold weather. The default settings on my unit, and I believe on the other unit as well, is like 32 degrees. We'll start up and we'll run, and we're circulating water and we're charging batteries. In a cold scenario, those are automatic default settings on our units that can be,
So it can be hooked to the engine where it circulates.
It is hooked to the engine. That's the way I want to sell it, is to the engine, because I don't want the guy calling me when he hit that blizzard up in Chicago, something like that, and we got a problem, and he's got a closed loop system. And
I see what you're saying. Some of them just won't hook to the engine. They just going to run their.
A lot of battery voltage people will tell you to start up at this voltage or that voltage. A lot of those, I wouldn't tinker with down in the 10-something voltage at all. I really don't, high, mid-11s, somewhere in there. But some guys want to push that to the max. I mean, we got a factory default setting, and I believe it's 11.8. I need to check that number and see. But neither way, dead batteries and cold weather, those things are set up to start, and that actually helps the truck. That will help.
Good stuff right there. That one's for you, Ryan. He always gets on me about saying good stuff. Okay. Now that we've got these things installed, or getting them installed, let's talk about a little bit of the servicing these units and how easy they are to take care of, and what is your warranty. What's a typical warranty on a APU?
Service is about 2,000-hour intervals.
How long does that take?
I guess some people take about a year.
Okay.
Some a little less, some a little more. So I wouldn't see a problem with changing oil twice a year in anything, if that's what it had me set at. I mean, I'm old school. I'd rather it be than not be. So, but twice a year.
Is that something easy somebody can do?
They can.
Not
they
that
can. If he's mechanically inclined, yes, he can.
Yeah. I mean, drain the oil.
If you like to have it, if you'd like to have it checked over and once over, hey, make sure, I'm beating up down the road. Has anything come loose? Because we are running lines from there. We're bundling it up and trying to trace it up through the truck and through the frame and up through the cab. So let's make sure I'm still all good.
What's some of the common things you see?
On an annual service, you see, rust obviously you see, but we see from time to time, we see some install plumbing that it gets bundled together, but then it doesn't get bundled away from the frame. So it'll sit right there on the lip of the frame and ride. We know that's not going to work.
Yeah.
We see there's just ways that you need to make sure that sucker is run correctly. The less you can put unneeded bends and hoses and things like that, let's make it clean, away from anything if it doesn't have to. We can't run it through. We can do all the hard work and run it up through the cab and then let it lean against the hole we cut in the cab without any security of any kind like that. Those are things that we've seen, you know. So we got to make sure.
Right.
We have to make sure.
So does it, and it produces your heat and air, so you can control it. You put controls, I'm assuming, in the
It's got a
sleeper or
controller.
something?
One of the big changes of the OEMs is they now have their controller, and so there's been some times when we have found where nothing was wrong with our unit and nothing was wrong with the controller. They just wouldn't talk to each other, and the driver would be like, "Hey, my it's not working," you know, and we can isolate one or the other and get both to work, but they wouldn't talk. So I'm not sure that the kinks are worked out but yeah, it's got its own controller. The Thermo King, the thing that I like about the Thermo King is the heater is separate. It's a separate S-bar heater. So totally, I'm not borrowing any energy or anything from the other side of it. AC is AC, heat is heat, and then of course we install an inverter.
Okay.
A 2,000 watt pure sine inverter, and I think one of the first pure sines we put in was one of your guys. We moved away from the 1,800 watt modified, and we moved to the 2,000 watt pure.
Okay.
So, but just the little changes, you know. And we've got Gen 3s coming. You know, we're getting ready for meetings this whole spring. We're going to look at the Gen 3 because it's going to have a DPF. These laws and things that are changing in this country.
Oh, they don't now, do they?
No, they don't have a DPF on it. Gen 3 will have it. I believe it'll be an option. The meeting's coming up in May, so I'll find out.
But will they have to start putting DEF fluid in them?
I don't think they'll have to do DEF, but you'll have to have the filter.
Well, that's a bunch of crap.
It just continues. Well,
I mean,
but how do we get away from it?
I don't know how you get away from it. I'm surprised it's lasted this long.
You don't. I was talking with my brother-in-law the other day, and he was talking about some of the little things that we do in the truck and here in Arkansas that are beneficial. You know, not all of it's really, but some of the things you need to go to, some of the events you need to be involved with, because there's things you'll pick up on that you normally wouldn't get. Mainly, what's next in all this we're dealing with these laws and things like that.
Good stuff. Talking to Ricky Duncan with Thermo King here. We're talking APUs and getting a little more detail on that. You know, it's always great to find out good topics. You know, come up with good topics, especially something that involves our truck drivers. And APUs is very important to our owner-operators, to all owner-operators out there, I think, yep. and even company drivers like you mentioned before that they use that. I mean, it's a recruiting tool, retention tool
sure.
to have APU on it. So, I mean, it's something that doesn't sound like it's going to go away, which was one of the next questions. Was the future of APUs that I had down there to see, and it sounds like they just keep evolving.
Yeah.
Whether it's battery life, they're steering more to, and then if the diesel engines may have to have the DPF filter down the road. I mean, you know, do you see APUs ever going away?
I don't.
I mean, aren't trucks though trying to put that in the truck when it's built?
They are. There's one of my most recent surveys I did. I had to do a top 25 for my business, and my top 25 customers that I have locally here, near 5,000 trucks just in my top 25. Now, I don't do business with all of them. I wished I did.
Yeah.
But my top 25's got about 5,000 trucks. That's an alarming number to think about. You know, majority of those got theirs come with the truck from the factory. Many different reasons why. The trucks are set up so that thing just flawlessly works with the truck. So, but
is that?
I think capacity-wise, I think we look at performance-wise is what we're trying to drive ours. We're trying to see, you know, do we produce more BTUs and do we have more capacity, things like that. We're just we want more comfort at a higher level, the best we can.
Yeah,
it's what we're striving to do. So,
well, I mean, that's something you think about, whether it's, you know, what kind they have in the trucks. I mean, because they're not doing diesel ones when they manufacture a truck? Are they? I mean, I'm assuming they're all battery.
We have a deal with us
something.
personally. We have a deal with Freightliner Factory, with Kenworth Factory. If you want our product separate from what they do, we can put it on at the factory.
Oh, really?
It can go down the line and be ready just the same as you get your trucks now. So that's a huge plus, something we didn't have in the past. And that's a lot of the decision. It really is. You know, you bring it home. You guys are very familiar with bringing it home, and then we got to put PTO pumps and this, and then we got to schedule days to get the truck ready. Day one, it ain't going. We got to do everything. So we're getting more and more where we can work with these manufacturers as it goes down the line. We can get that equipment put on there.
Yeah.
And get it PDI'd and ready to go.
It's something like, you know, that's.
You know, you was asking too about where do you see the future? This number crunching that we continue to do with these emissions, it's scary. And not to jump over on the other side, but on the refrigeration side, there's some language already spoken in 27, 28, I think, maybe 27, about SOTL, which is Stationary Operation Time Limit. It's already out there. They're already pushing for, if it's not rolling, it has to be plugged up. I mean, they've got dates out there. 2035, I believe, is a great date of, man, and none of us are looking that far down the line. We're just trying to run some freight today. Yeah. We're just trying to get some freight moved today. We're not looking that far down the line. Yeah, but I know you can't plug this whole world up. You cannot do that, I don't think.
No.
Not the way things are now.
No, and that probably won't happen in our lifetime. Because I know one, I won't be all electric, I'm sure. I mean, unless they just take it away and I can't get to it for some reason.
That's going to be the part of it that scares you the most.
What about these guys that you see roll in or roll down the road that's got a generator on the back with a tank of gas hanging out the side? I mean, not to bash those guys, because they're like me. They trying to find the cheapest way to do things. When you're talking, an APU costs roughly, give me a rough cost on
roughly 13.
Roughly a $13,000 unit compared to I can buy a $2,500 generator and try to piece it together. It may sound good, but I got a feeling that's there's a lot of problems with that.
I had a guy bring me a van hauling flowers, and the generator was sitting in the back of the van. A little 2,000 watt Honda, and I'm looking at it and I'm going,
he running it in there?
I was like, man, is there any exhaust plumbing here at all? Oh, it ain't hurt a thing.
Oh, no.
People will do just about anything they can, surely. But you know, my brother-in-law, Steve McNeil, we talked about earlier, we were talking this week, and I can remember him telling me 7 or 8 years ago, he said, it's costing me $1,000 a day when the truck doesn't roll.
LubeZone has opened a new location in Statesville, North Carolina. It's located north of Statesville on Highway 77, just west of Exit 59. LubeZone services both single trucks and truck fleets, so whether you're driving through or you have a trucking company nearby, LubeZone are the experts to turn to. LubeZone's specialty is full-service oil changes that take approximately 30 to 40 minutes. They also offer tractor-trailer grease, gearbox service, generator service, reefer service, and DOT inspections. They also go the extra mile when it comes to quality control. What does that mean? That means your semi-truck is checked not just once, but twice to ensure all service and parts are good to go. LubeZone does this so you can rest easy knowing that your truck is in top condition. No other service center knows semi-trucks better than LubeZone. Check out lubezone.com for all their locations, and when you go in there, tell them you heard it on the Oakley Podcast.
You know, he said 7 or 8 years ago it was $1,000. He goes, I don't care where you get it, how you get it, why you get it. He goes, but the truck can't sit. And you could see it in his eyes. And we talked this week. That was 7 years ago, almost 7 years ago. The number, I asked him that same question this week. That number is now, he said, 1,500. Think about that. For whatever reason, parts on back order, ain't got nobody that can fix it, work on it, whatever. Every day, think about trying to do your business plan around $1,500 of lost revenue every day it doesn't roll. I can remember way back, you know, friend, Dow Transport, Dallas Estes. I remember him telling me he would business plan 1 to 2 trucks per week down. And I remember him telling me later on that number had grown to 10 to 12 trucks down. He had to schedule it that way in order to make business plan come out. I'm going, man, when we're scheduling the downtime or expecting the downtime, something's wrong. Yeah. Something's wrong. Let's load the truck and let's go haul the freight. That's not real anymore.
No.
That's not real. But downtime is certainly real.
It is.
It's real.
And it's going to happen. And now, I mean, the trucks are forced to have downtime. So,
yep.
You have got to have something efficient to be able to keep them warm, keep them cold, and do the things that need to be done so they can have all the amenities possible, there in that truck. They live in that truck.
They live in a truck. So they take that 34-hour break, and they get back in it after 34 hours. The milk better still be okay in the refrigerator.
That's right. And that's a good point.
Yeah.
What are these here before we close this thing out? I was thinking about the weight of these APUs. I'd always heard they're like 400 pounds.
450.
Is that about right? 450?
With, I believe there's some little deal on your, I'm not real sure about this, but I've seen something on your taxes or something where one line that you put that on there saying, hey, I've got this extra weight because something to do with that.
Well, there are. We keep a map in here. I brought it in here on states that will supposedly give you 400, 450 pounds if you roll through there a little bit heavy. But not every state does it, and I know that weight is important with a lot of people, especially since at Oakley. We're getting up there, and these trucks just seem to be getting heavier. But, there's a 400-pound exemption by law, and I think this is up to date. Miles, we might put this up there and see, but where they give you an exempt 400 pounds exemption. So some of them do, some of them don't. Arkansas, 550-pound exemption by enforcement policy. So that's the only one I see on this list for a 550-pound exemption.
Rest of them 400.
No, there's a couple more. Colorado, Connecticut. Yeah, some of them 400. So, I mean, whether that actually works, I don't know. You know how that is, guys. You have to get the right DOT officer to let you get by on that. I don't know, but I'm sure our guys can try it, and we can. So, but anyway, I mean, that's good information on APUs. I really think we dialed some stuff down. Do you have anything you want to add?
It was we do an annual wild game at our church.
Yeah.
And, it's
where you go to church at?
I go to Northview Missionary Baptist Church. Used to be Lynchview right here in Rose City. I grew up in Rose City right here.
Oh, really?
Right there on Lynch Drive.
No kidding.
So I know all this bank of the river right here very well.
That's good stuff, yeah.
But, yeah, we moved over there, and we've done that for years, and had a good turnout. Had a really good turnout. Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
What kind of speech you give them? You give them testimony? Or?
I gave them testimony of a ticket. I got a hunting ticket, duck hunting, 4 years ago with no plug in my gun. And leading up to that ticket, it was an event of about 2.5 days. We had to go. Wife had an uncle that had passed, and we were up for services. So her cousin called, and he says, "Man, bring your stuff. We'll go hunting." And so I tied all that in with. I went 2.5 days of wondering instead of checking that plug in that gun. I was just wondering, man, I need to check that. And I carried on pretty good with the group we had there. Every time I got serious about checking that gun for that plug, the phone would ring, or supper was ready, or the dog was barking, or the phone would ring again, over and over and over, until the day of the hunt, the last hour of the hunt, all morning long, and then the game warden stepped in that blind, and I got busted. He started putting them shells in there. When number 4 went in there, I was just overcome with just the anxiety of the 2.5 days of wondering. I was overcome with just, you're an idiot. You know better and you was raised better and all that. And then a couple of weeks of that went by, and kind of the Holy Spirit said, look, that's how people treat salvation. They never check it. And I remember thinking I wanted to go wake my wife up that morning and go, hey, I ain't mad about that ticket anymore. God just give me something with it. So I rolled all of that into one little simple scripture that night. They'll come that day when we stand before the Lord where there'll be many, he says, depart from me, I never knew you. And I tied all that in with not checking that plug. If you don't check that first, you got a lot of things in this whole world you got to do. Pay your rent, pay your bills, take care of things. Your salvation has got to be first on that list.
That better be
first
checked off.
and foremost, before you do any of this other stuff, that's got to be done.
Because
it has to be done.
Because the gate is narrow.
That's right. That's exactly right. People aren't listening.
No.
And it's our job to tell.
Yeah.
So.
Awesome.
Sorry about that.
No, that's good stuff. I love it. That's
but I was getting ready to say on our trucks as emissions go, they're continuing to do this number here with these emissions. They're squeezing that, and the more they do that, the more they try to get.
How are they squeezing that, Ricky? I mean, just more regulations.
NOx in particular is what you'll hear the most. Particulate matter, and so somebody from old school is going to look at it like this. I referred to early in early when we sat down and talked, black smoke all over the front of that trailer. That's great big balls that ain't going to pass through much of nothing. Now we're down to little bitty particles that you're breathing in you don't even realize. It's gotten down to that, which was more harmful to us as humans. Does anybody know?
Yeah.
I mean, there's that conversation, and it goes a whole different, and I'm not involved with that one. I see those slides, and I think, there's something to that, and there's a conversation for somebody to have right there.
Sure.
So
Sure.
Are we really, truly trying to do the best for the population? Are we? Or is all this driven by something else? Is there an agenda that's being driven? Because like I said, old school guys like me and the way I was raised, let's just load the wagon, so to speak. Let's just load the wagon, haul the freight.
Yeah.
We'll figure the rest of this out. I love hearing those old stories about my father-in-law, David McNeil. They said he'd leave and go out west, and he'd be gone. He's just trucking. A lot of guys did that.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of guys did that. So
Yeah.
they say those were the good old days.
That's what they say.
That's what they say.
We're going to say that too,
Yeah.
It's our good old days. I'm already telling it to my boys,
Yep.
back in the good old days. I mean,
Yep.
it's not even been that long.
We could sure learn. We could sure learn.
Oh, man. Well, good stuff. I really appreciate you coming on and talking APUs with us. It's something that these days is a necessity almost. If you want to benefit financially, for sure, if you're an independent contractor, because that's kind of, with it, what we have is 850 independent contractors.
Right.
And
Right.
I don't know. We were talking this morning. I don't know how many of them have APUs, but I'm always hearing that talk of them wanting to get an APU on the truck if they don't have it. And I can't see why you wouldn't.
Yep.
I mean, it looks to me like, you're going to make your money back. It's going to pay for itself.
It will.
How
And
long?
that's, you're talking about those independents with a dream. They're trying to make something happen here. They're going to buy a truck, and they're going to do that. They need that. They need a return on an investment. They need to spend some money to make some money to make a living. What's a good investment? Like I said earlier, if this thing took 10 years to pay for itself, we'd have to talk a whole different deal. But when we're talking 10 to 12 months,
That quick.
payback, because now that fluctuates with fuel, or now that sensor's gone out and they don't have it and it's on back order forever, and I can't get it. I mean, look at the money lost.
Yeah, definitely.
So,
Yeah, so it's it's something that I know a lot of our owner operators want, and a lot of them have it.
yes,
so
we've done a ton for y'all. We really
I was going to say, I mean,
we have done a ton.
not that we haven't had I guess we've had a relationship, but not really talked a lot. I mean, I think our guys go over there and use you. We don't really refer. I mean, to
Right.
Thermo King, we kind of leave it up to the owner operator to get whatever you want. Just, we don't.
Blessed in this market, I am, because everybody in town, we're dealing with all the little local vendors and it's just word of mouth.
So if anybody, give us some information if we got owner operators out there wanting to come talk to you, come see you. Where are you located? What do they need to do?
Tri-State Thermo King, located right here at 10600 Maybelline Road, right here in North Little Rock.
On I-40.
On I-40, right there at Galloway. And then our family has 3 other dealerships. We have Russellville, which you can see from the freeway. Then we have Memphis and Nashville. So it's I-40 for the family of Tri-State. So
What they need to do, just call.
they can call me
in.
anytime. They can either call there or they can get hold of my cell phone. I know my business card stays right down here on this board at the shop. And I get a lot of referral from everybody here at the
Yeah, you need to make sure you're in the driver's lounge too. We also need to put his info up on the screen here on YouTube so they can give you a call. Well, good, man. They give you a call, and what can you do for them? Just, hey, get them scheduled in. How long you think it would take?
It normally takes 2 days for an install. Just a normal install takes about 2 days. There are times we have an install crew now floating between all 4 stores. That's how busy we've been for the last 5 years. A case like that, we knock it down to just a day, and that's a lucky deal for us. But 2 days, and a lot of times your guys have got, when they're coming on board with you, they got other stuff they're trying to schedule to get everything ready for the truck anyway. And I'm like, hey, squeeze me in the middle of that. Let me get that APU put on there for you. So.
All right, well, good. Well, y'all check out Ricky Duncan at Thermo King here in North Little Rock out there at the Galloway exit. Give him a call and see what's going on, and give us some feedback too. You know, if you've done business out there, I'll be honest with you, we haven't pushed APUs or anything like that. We just didn't know a whole lot about them. I mean, you know the basics, but I think this has helped right here for not only me to learn, but all of our listeners to learn too. Ricky, and I really thank you for coming over and explaining some stuff.
Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Yeah,
I really appreciate
Get you back on here every once in a while. We'll
look
talk.
forward to it.
Yeah,
look for as the changes come. We'll
That's
talk
right.
more. Yeah.
All right. Hey, thanks everybody for listening to the Oakley Podcast. I mean, once again, we appreciate you guys. Be sure to subscribe, comment, like us, check us out on YouTube, and check out our previous episodes. We have had some really good episodes before this. I mean, this is 141 or 143, I don't remember, but I mean, this is we've got more coming down the road too that's going to be good for you. So be sure and check us out at the Oakley Podcast. We appreciate y'all listening. We'll talk to you next week.